Hey, everybody. This is Carmela's Rasslin Radio Relived, and this is my baby girl, Jeannie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited about tonight. This is
Me
actually our
too.
second, yeah, this is our second podcast in a week. We've never done that before. We did the Mr. McMahon podcast on Wednesday, which I thought turned out really good.
Yeah.
You guys have to listen. There's so many stories I didn't get to say. We might have to do another one on that. But we have a very, 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 very special guest tonight.
Yes.
Somebody who has been making history happen in the near future. He is part of the One and Done match show that we're seeing on the 3rd of May in 2025. And Joel can't be here tonight, but he would. He's doing some kind of a concert thing, but it's going to be a really, really, really good podcast. So I hope everybody listens. This gentleman had me on his podcast not too long ago. He is known as Chubby Dudley, and we're going to introduce him right now, Mr. BAY RAGNI.
Hey!
How are you?
I am beautiful. How are you guys?
We're good.
Good.
Especially now, Bay.
And we don't need that asshole Joe Goodhart here. I'm gonna entertain everybody.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
That's
You
right.
tell him. And I just want to say, buonasera, signore Basso Ragni. Come stai stasera?
Now
Did you
you know
get that?
how to speak Italian.
Okay. I said, how are you, Mr. Basso Ragni? How are you this evening?
I am beautiful. And yes, that I do know because I was told many times Ragni is the correct way to say it in Italian.
Ragni. In Italian, anytime you see a G and an N and an I, it has an onion sound. Yeah, onion. So Ragni. So you have, that's how you remember it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that because we're so happy you're here.
Yes.
There's a lot to
It's
talk
the
about.
Paisan hour tonight.
Oh, we got 3 Italians in the room.
I
That's
love
right.
it.
Having Joel here would have messed it all up. He's not Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got some Italian people going now. We're going to go strong.
Now you really are the man of the hour, or of the not just the hour, but you are the one who created this
whole mess.
banner. Getting the petition going. It was your idea. It was your concept. It's your drive. I'm so appreciative of you for doing that because it is deserved by all the 5 people who are on it. How did you what made you think of it?
You know what's funny? The whole thing started because of this. Because
There
I
you go.
sit here,
Nice.
I drink wine as I'm doing my work. Like I work a normal job, and then I come home, and me and my better half, Coco, we have a reselling business. So I come home and I work, and I'll drink wine and blah 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 blah. And then I get asked to do these wrestling podcasts to talk about my Chubby Dudley ECW days. And the thing I noticed, it's weird. Like over the last year, a lot of these people who are doing these interviews have turned out to know about the history of ECW going back to where it came from the days of Carmela and Joel and TWA and everything.
Mhm.
So I was probably drinking too much wine one night and while doing one of these interviews, and I just went on a tirade about how and this is no disrespect to anybody that has a banner up there hanging at the 2300 arena, because I love all those fucking guys, and I'm sorry, I'm Italian, I fucking curse, so it's going to be a fun show tonight. So I just went on a tirade and made me think, like, the true 5 guys I feel that really kicked off this whole thing that became the Extreme Era, the Hardcore Era, the Attitude Era. It all started in the capital of pro wrestling of Philadelphia with Joel, Larry, DC Drake, Johnny, and Tony. Like, these guys, they took what was being done throughout the years of professional wrestling, but they put it on the map in the modern era. And they created a whole new term of hardcore, and it became a whole thing that really started a whole revolution. And I felt like, you know what? Yes, the true fans know the history, they know about those five guys, but I think everybody that walks into that building should also know the history and know those five guys, and they deserve to be have some respect shown. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for those five guys, the key word there being respect. And I've said this in other interviews. Those five guys, especially Johnny Hotbody, were the ones that taught me respect because as a 20-year old know-it-all, when I was first got into the wrestling business and wrestling school, um, I was probably 21 at the time when they decided to give the Blackhearts the belts. Like I was not a fan of the Blackhearts for whatever reason, and I just didn't understand the business yet. Also, but one night in wrestling school, I said something bad about the Blackhearts, and Hot Body came over and smacked me. And he's like, "How fucking dare you?" And I was like, "Oh shit! Like, what did I do wrong?"
Yeah.
And he said to me, he said, "Have you wrestled a match?" I'm like, "No." Have you been paid to go out there in front of a crowd and work a match in front of anybody? I said, no. He said, well, who are you to talk bad about anybody in this business? And it made me stop and think, and I was like, oh, okay. But that stuck with me for 30 something years. And I realized at that moment, I learned what respect was. And I owe it all to Johnny Hotbody. And those guys, Larry, Johnny, Tony, beat my fucking ass in that wrestling school, and they beat respect into me. So now it's time for me to pay them back. And it's funny because I never really knew Don DC Drake, but he was like my favorite. I used to love that 5 minute entrance of him and Donnie Allen,
Mhm.
and the matches he had with Larry was just mind blowing. And I came from watching WWF at the time and NWA, WCW. So when I saw what these guys were doing when I first started coming to the tri-state shows, I was like, where the hell has this been all my life? This is the way it should be.
Hmm. Exactly. Well, like you had said previously, that's where the actual hardcore stuff began. We had when we were together, Joel and Paul and I, we had Bruiser Brody against Abdullah,
I
and
would have
that
lost my
was
mind.
oh yeah, that was one of the wildest matches I had ever seen being a part of it because there was a part of the match where I was the promoter and I was going to come out because Abdullah was doing the fork thing too much and whatever, and I was going to throw him out and get back in the dressing room, and it was supposed to be this. He was supposed to say no and argue with me and whatever, and then I go out there and I'm dressed in boots and I got a skirt on and a jacket, and I go up there and I'm like, he starts chasing me, and I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? I started running, and he really scared me because I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't remember what he's supposed to do. He's going to hurt me. And then when we went back I went back in the dressing room. He came back into the ring, and then later on he came out and started laughing. I said to him, "You know what? I swear to God, you ever do that again, I will punch you." I said, "You scared the daylights out of me." And he laughed. Everybody thought it was so funny, but I didn't. But they did. But yeah, that was. I can't say that the hardcore was a part of Rasslin Radio and Squared Circle back then. We
Right.
started, yes. When we started, yes, that was the most hardcore match I think we had as a group. Probably if we didn't have to separate because of my daughter, God knows where it would have gone because Joel did a great job. Don't get me wrong, he did an
Yeah.
awesome job, but he did it by himself pretty much. So if we were a group, who knows what would have happened? But regardless of that, he brought that time frame. He turned it into a worldwide, literally a worldwide entity. Everybody knows ECW, and Paul Heyman gets the credit for creating ECW when in reality I don't think he should take the credit for that. I really don't. I could be wrong, but I don't think he should.
Here's the thing, because it's fun because I got to be part of like all this. So I got to be part of the Joel era, even though I didn't get to wrestle technically for
Mhm.
Joel.
Mhm.
I worked for under Todd. I got to wrestle for Todd. I got to wrestle for Paul. So I got to experience the three. With Joel laid the foundation and the groundwork and truly made a
Right.
family out of all of us. Those we would do those monthly or quarterly meetings at his apartment with everybody, and that was the true bonding of that locker room and that foundation. And when we have this meeting in the coming weeks, when we all get together, it's going to be like some of these guys. Like like seriously, I want to cry thinking about it.
Take your time.
Like they all mean so much to me.
I know. I know. I get it. Believe me, I do. And it means a lot to us as well, because Joel and I go back 40 years. Okay. Um, and as much as I joke with him, and we joke terribly, and as much as we argue and hate each other, we really don't. I love Joel dearly. He's a good man. He's a good person. He's gone through incredible odds, and he's fighting every single day to beat those odds. But I agree with you. Don't ever let Joel see this podcast, or I'll beat you till I'm like a dog.
Are you kidding? That motherfucker was calling me this afternoon. He's like, Carmela's going to send me the link tonight. He's like, so I'll be watching. I'll be
Yeah, he
listening
wants
on
me
my
to
way
drop
home.
it tonight. Yeah, I
Yeah.
said no, I'm dropping it tomorrow. He goes, no, you're not. Drop it tonight. But really, and he knows this. He does. He knows this, and um, I have more than 100% respect for him. I really do, and he's done a good job, and he deserves to have that banner hung.
Yeah.
All of them did. All of them
Yeah.
do deserve it.
Yeah.
And I think especially Larry Winters.
Yeah.
God bless him, because he without and a lot of people don't know there. I think they're learning it from this podcast that he was so instrumental in so many things. Jeannie and I didn't even know. I mean, obviously she knew because she was closer to Larry, but I didn't know that he was that instrumental in that organization.
Something about Larry too. Like Larry and Ron. When I joined the wrestling school in September of '90, Larry and Ron Shaw were my initial trainers. Ron Shaw, because of his job, he worked nights. I think he was a bus driver or something. He didn't last long. He ended up having to, leave and do his work gig.
Mm-hmm.
But Larry was Monday through Thursday night. I spent 2 to 3 hours every week religiously with Larry. And Larry wasn't like, as you went through the business, you heard the horror stories of other wrestling schools and their trainers. And it was just like, oh, yeah, it's a payday and get money. And I'm taking money from these kids that want to be in the business and blah, 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 blah. Larry was not like that. Larry truly cared about us. And the way I know, it was probably in the first month, maybe second month of wrestling school. At least one night a week, we would end up literally just sitting in the ring, and Larry would talk to us and educate us about the business and tell us stories of his, travels around the country and Canada and everything. And me and the other students, and I don't remember if Stevie Richards was in at that point. Maybe he was or was. I'm not sure. But he sat us down one night and he told us. He said, "Look," he said, "you know, a lot of guys, in a few months when you're ready to start working matches, they'll go up to WWF and they'll go work squash matches on TV." He's like, "And I want to warn you and prepare you. This is what's going to happen." He said, "You'll go up there and they'll pay you. You'll get a nice payday, whether you work one match, two match, three matches per taping, etc. You'll get a great payday. Be prepared and be on the lookout for Pat Patterson because he is going to sexually harass you. He's going to attempt to persuade you to do sexual favors for him, And I'm not going to here to judge you. If you're into that, or you want to do that and try to better your career, that's on you. But I'm warning you, if this is the route you're going to go, be prepared because this is what's going to happen to you.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Now I don't know if you watched the podcast from Wednesday night that Mr. McMahon
I
won.
have not yet.
Okay, well we talked about Pat Patterson, and we were saying that Tony Atlas actually said on the Vince McMahon series that Pat Patterson used to always try and grab him,
Yeah.
between his legs.
Yeah.
And Pat Patterson was part of the Ring Boy scandal. Him and Mel Phillips. And I was saying I knew Mel Phillips very well. And once I found this out, it's funny, you think you know somebody very well, and then all of a sudden you find out that they're demons, and you didn't know they were evil. And he was just a piece of crap, period. Okay. And it's a shame because they like Pat Patterson portrayed himself as such an upstanding kind of guy and blah blah blah, and he probably was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but how are you going to be an upstanding guy and put your hands on a child? I can't. There's some things, Bay, I can't get past. Okay?
I hear you.
And that's one of them. Children are not made for that. They're made to be loved and grow up and have a beautiful life. That's what they're made to have,
Exactly.
And Jeannie and I were talking about a lot of the stories that I remember from being around the WWE for a long time. But we can talk more about that later. Right now, I want to talk more to you about that. Have you ever experienced anything like that at all, though, with anybody? Or anybody asking you to do anything for money?
No.
Okay, good.
No. I mean, again, I never went up there to do the jobs or anything, so I never had to experience that. My biggest thing was just getting ECW, and in ECW, it was just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, before I got into the wrestling business, I wanted to be a rock star, and that's what I wanted was the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I never thought I was going to go into the wrestling business and then get it.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah. It was just complete debauchery. At the old Travelodge across from the Penrose Diner. It was, things I never thought would happen or experience. And
do tell.
You got any stories? Got any rich stuff to tell us?
There was it was great. Like it was like stuff out of Motley Crue, The Dirt. If you ever read their book,
oh Lord,
it was like that. It really was.
Wow.
Wow. You would be. There would be multiple hotel rooms with parties going.
You weren't snorting ants, were you? No, I'm just kidding.
I wasn't snorting ants. I was never a drug person. I was always a drinker. So, I smoked pot, etc. But, sadly, a lot of the boys were doing drugs and getting hooked onto the painkillers and stuff like that. That was a bad thing. Because, sadly, you start at that time. It was like all of a sudden, like people start dying. And you're like, oh, this is like getting serious now. And there was the one. It was crazy. The one band. I think it was Sublime. They had a bunch of big hits in the mid '90s. They ended up staying at the Travelodge when ECW was there, so we were partying with them.
Oh my god!
And it was like, like insanity. It just insanity between everything going on, and then like a week later, the lead singer OD'd on heroin. It was like, wait a minute, I was just with this guy last week.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of puts.
That's how fast it happens.
Yeah, it really puts things in a perspective, and then I've wanted to do it, and I'm kind of scared to do it, but like to literally go through the list. Well, we have the list that Joel has put together to pay tribute to for the 10 Bell Salute, but the people who I've been in contact with, whether it was TWA or ECW, that are no longer with us. It's devastating. It really is.
We know we were talking again on the podcast from Wednesday night about how the wrestlers were, back in the day, and the drugs and the alcohol, and how we saw so many things, and like I was telling that story about Jimmy Snuka, and
Mhm.
how I knew he was high constantly in
Love
the
that.
ring, outside of the ring, all over the place.
Yeah.
And and I knew his girlfriend Nancy at the time.
Okay.
And I was there the weekend that she died. I didn't see
Wow.
anything, of course, but I was there. And I know his temper. I mean, his temper was unreal. And I'm going to tell you, whenever he was in a bar and he acted out, I would guarantee you right now that not one wrestler would attempt to get involved. Not one. They were terrified of him.
Well, Jimmy, I mean, you could see in Jimmy, and I was around Jimmy dozens of times through
Mm,
ECW and many independent shows. Always very nice and very respectful, but he had that look in his eyes. At any moment, he could snap, and you never knew what could happen.
exactly. Well, there was a time that I didn't say this on Wednesday night. Buddy Rogers was telling us that he and Jimmy were driving to a show,
Okay.
and Buddy was in front in the Lincoln Continental that Paul and I bought off of him. By the way, remember that
Oh,
big
I
car?
love that car.
I
Yeah.
love that
Really?
car. Yeah, we bought a Lincoln Continental off of Buddy Rogers. It was a 1979 collector series.
Ooh.
Good God, I love that car. I'm
Ooh.
telling you, if I ever hit the lottery today, I'm going to get that same car. I'm going to have the whole inside gutted out and rebuilt. That's the only. I'm just going to be my death car. It's the only car I'm going to
Love
have.
it. I love it.
But anyway, they're driving, and Buddy was telling us. He goes, "I'm at the light. Jimmy's behind me. Okay." All of a sudden, the light changes. Buddy goes straight. Jimmy makes a right, and he never showed up at the show. Never came. No calls. No nothing. Well, back then there were no cell phone call. Cell phones
Right.
to use really, but never showed up at the show. He was so high, he just didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to do. He forgot he was following Buddy. And stuff like that happened a lot. I mean, a whole lot. And the wrestlers, like today, there's protocol.
Yeah.
Today there's etiquette where the
It's such a
wrestlers have to
different business today.
follow. Yes, exactly. Years ago, there was no such thing. Years ago it was potluck. Everybody for themselves. And like I
Yeah.
said, Jeannie and I talked a lot about this Wednesday night. And they did what they wanted to do. And Tony Atlas was very correct when he said, that the wrestlers
Was
abused it.
Tony not the star of the whole Vince McMahon show?
He
this
was.
series?
And because he was the most honest. He told the truth. He said, he didn't like Stephanie because she was like Vince, but Shane was nice, But yeah, Tony. I mean, God bless him. All right, but Tony Atlas was saying,
I got a funny
he said
story.
it himself. He said, we abuse the women, and not even the
yeah.
wrestling women, the
Oh, yeah.
regular women. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
My first year in the business, green as grass. I work in a show. It was out in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. I think for Dino Santa. And I walk in the locker room, and there's a woman standing on Tony's face, and I'm
Yes.
just like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
What town was this in?
Downingtown.
Was she blonde by any chance?
Yes.
Did she have glasses on by any chance?
No, she was actually a valet on the show. I never saw her again after that.
Well, I have a friend named Dawn who's very, very, very close to Tony. They still call each other even now, all the time. And every time he was in Allentown and Hamburg, that's what she had to do. She stood on his face. He laid down, and with her shoes on, without them on, stood on his face.
With them on, especially.
Yeah. He loved that. He loved feet.
He's still.
I don't know.
I'm seeing all the pictures now on Facebook popping up of him kissing girls' feet at the conventions. Yep. It's fucking classic. God bless Tony.
He did. He really did. But like I said, there was a lot of crappy stuff that happened there. I have to say this tonight because I didn't say it on Wednesday, and I know there's going to be a lot of people listening to this. But you know how many times in an interview Shawn Michaels has admitted to being a prick years ago? And he's like, I'm not that same person anymore, but I was a prick years ago. And he was. He really and truly was. And I know that.
Never heard nothing good about Shawn Michaels back then.
No, nothing. He was always on drugs, always drinking, always a total ass in plain English. I have no idea what he's like now, but now he's a Christian, so he turned his life around and blah blah blah. But one night we were there, and a woman. There was crowded, packed. It was always crowded when wrestling was in. We were in the Marriott in the lobby, and a woman who I know, who we know, went up to him, I guess, to ask him for his autograph or something like that. And he said something to the effect of, "Well, this might be better." Pulled his pants down, took it out, as Elaine would say on Seinfeld. He took it out and peed on her leg. He
What?
literally peed on her leg in front of everybody in the lobby. Yeah. She was mortified. I wanted to kill him. And I went and told the desk, I'm like, you got to get security in here. These guys are ridiculous. And they did, but it was all done by then. Yeah.
Wow.
That was one thing I witnessed myself. I witnessed a lot of stuff. Let's put it that way. And that's
Was
why
it
that's
all
the
at
only...
the Philly Marriott?
Yes. Most of it was, but if you remember, I don't know if you remember, but before the Marriott, there was an airport hotel at the airport. That was where we all stayed before the Marriott. Yep. It's a little tiny thing. It had its own little bar, its own little restaurant. And then, oh God, the airport's so different now. But when you would drive in, you'd go over that Platte Bridge,
Right.
And when you get to the airport, there would, right before you actually got into where the flights were, on the right-hand side was literally called the Airport Hotel. If you Google it, you might still be able to get some information on it. But the Airport Hotel, and it had its own restaurant and bar. And we were always in there. That's where we were the night that I said, literally within 10 minutes, a wrestler downed a whole handful of pills, drank a whole glass of vodka, done deal. Okay? That was the night we had to bring him to his room. My friend Nancy and I took off his clothes, put him to bed, and he had a plethora in his bag of money and drugs. And we easily could have stolen that money. Easily. He would have never known.
See,
but it is what it is.
That's it's crazy because even like in my peak time of the 90s, the business then compared to now is so different because especially, I mean, just from what you can see on TV, because now the women are equal and they are a very vital, important part of this business as respectful wrestlers. Back in the 90s, 80s, and I'm sure before that, the women in the business, and we know the term, they were considered rats. So they were not treated nicely, and there was the drugs, the alcohol, and the sex, and it was just rampant and out of control, and what I see today, I just know between the drug and alcohol situation, you're not hearing the stories like you used to between the drugs and alcohol of today's workers, whether male or female. And that the fact that the females, let's face it, most of these females in the business, they're involved with somebody in the locker room. They're either in committed relationships, they're married. It's a whole different business now. Back then, forget it. It was, a freaking free for all.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I was saying before that. I don't know if you know this or not, babe, but Dominic DeNucci actually wanted to train me to be a wrestler. And he actually had one of his students, we went to his school, one of his students suplex me, and I absolutely loved it.
But
I would not. Yeah, right.
She likes getting kicked around,
But well, used to. But I wanted to do it so bad, but I just knew that women were in the wrestling business just subhuman. They were just subhuman. And, they weren't good. Now, Dominic, I know he would never have treated me badly or anything like that. But if I'm going to be a professional wrestler, I got to go work for somebody, and you either, that's just, it's like casting couch in Hollywood. I mean, that's just unless you were dating or married to somebody, you weren't getting in the business. And I was just like, no.
That's
plus Carmela would have killed me.
Exactly.
She said, I'll kill you if you're ever a rat.
But that's also like an important piece of where like people like Joel Goodhart come to play, and even Todd Gordon, because in those early days of my career, they truly looked out for you and they took care of you and they guided you in as we were. I mean, we were kids. Even though we were adults, we were kids.
Hmm.
And I I really stress this with Joel especially. And I don't think many people know this part of me. Um, my father died when I was 4 years old.
Oh my God.
So going through life, and then my mom got sick with cancer when I was 16.
Oh my
So
God.
she was suffering and suffering, and I was working at the pizza shop at the time, and I said jokingly because the pizza shop went up for sale. I said, "Oh, let's buy a pizza shop." Well, because I was such a fuck up in school and in life at the time, because I wanted to be a rock star and I had long hair and I'm wearing nail polish, and my mother was freaking the hell out. Oh, Italian mother.
Yeah.
And my mom had me. I was a change of life baby, so my mom had me when she was 40. So at this point, she's in her mid 50s, and she's like saying to my older sister, who's 16 years older than me, like, what the fuck is going on with this kid? Like, this kid's wearing nail polish. He's got his hair out to here. What is going on? She's like, he's gay. I think he's gay. Like, I don't know what's going
Not that
on.
there's anything wrong with it.
No, not that anything's wrong with it, but my
Right.
mom, she was like very confused. So she ends up figuring, all right, well, he wants to drop out of school. I'll let him drop out of school and I'll buy him a pizza shop. So she buys me a pizza shop, which it was like a blessing and a curse at the same time, because a year into the pizza shop, my mom passes away when I'm, a few months before my 19th birthday. And I just, I checked out. I go off the deep end. So a year later, coming out of the deep end, I decided to join the wrestling business. And the person who became a true father figure to me was Joel. For some reason, me and Joel always connected. And then we looked alike because I had the dark glasses like Joel. I had the hair. I used to wear the Zubaz and a jacket, and everybody thought I was Joel's son. So
Oh
everybody
my
would
goodness.
always say to me, "Are you Joel's son? Are you Joel Jr.?" I'm like, "No, like no." So that was like the ongoing joke back then. But then he really took up like a father figure to me, and the big thing was in wrestling, you have to know how to flip. You got to take that suplex bump. You got to take that hip toss bump. I couldn't flip. I could not flip to save my life. If a person was there to guide me and do the move, I can do it. But you got to be able to your tryout. You stand there, jump, flip, land on your back. Couldn't do it. 2 fucking years they held me in that school prisoner, beating my ass, and would not let me have a match. I could work matches, but I just couldn't do that flip myself. So I called Joel one day. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to quit. I think I'm done. Like, I'm tired of this. I can't flip. He said, come to the school this Friday afternoon. Meet me at the school. I have a surprise for you. I'm like, all right. So I go there with my sister, and me and my sister are sitting there, and in comes Joel with Paul Orndorff and Buddy Landel.
Wow.
So tells me get in the ring with Orndorff. I get in the ring with Orndorff, lock up, couple chain wrestling. Orndorff hip tosses me. I take the bump, and I can still picture him clear as day. He looks down at me and goes, "You know what your problem is, boy? You're too fucking fat." And
Oh my God.
walked out of the ring. I'm
That's
like,
horrible.
Oh
I'm
my
laying there,
God.
and I'm like, all right, great, all right,
That's
thanks.
horrible.
So Buddy jumps up and he gets in the ring. He's like, fuck that guy. He's an asshole. he's like,
Yeah, he was.
he's like, work with me. So I end up fucking Buddy worked a match with me. And he turned around and he said to Joel, give this kid his fucking match. Let him work a match. Let him start.
Okay.
And Joel said, okay.
Who'd you fight first? Who's your first match?
Joel went out of fucking business, the asshole.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I had fucking tickets. I was selling tickets from.
Oh my
I want to
God.
say it was Valentine's Day, 1992. It was supposed to be at the FOP Lodge on Broad Street. Yeah, yeah. The son of a bitch went out of business. So when he announced that morning on Rasslin Radio, I used to do telemarketing at my sister's work. I was a telemarketer. I, I sat there crying like a baby. I said, I'm fucked. I just got my ass beat for 2 years. I'm finally getting a match, and Joel just took my whole life out from under me. I'm like, what the
Oh
hell's
my
going to happen
God.
now? So it was devastating,
So
devastating.
what did you do after that? Did you stay in the business?
Yeah, well, I was very close with everybody, and one of my best friends still to this day, and this fucking guy has, especially over the last so many years since I went through my divorce and all, has been there through me with me through thick and thin. Jimmy Janetti, and
Yeah.
he called me up. See, it's funny because this part of the story is foggy. I thought it was that day Joel went out of business, but everybody's been telling me as I've been doing these chewing the fat interviews, it was actually like the following week or the week after. And Janetti called me up and said, "Hey, we have a meeting to go to at Bob Artista's skating rink. They have an announcement for us." And a bunch of the boys were there, and they just huddled us up in Bob's office there, amongst like 300 kids in ice skates running around like lunatics, and said, "Look, Todd Gordon has stepped up. He's going to be the new promoter, and we're restarting the federation, and it's going to be called Eastern Championship Wrestling, and it's going to be a whole new thing. But all you guys are part of it, and we're starting fresh." I was like, "All right, great," but I didn't know Todd, and I had to wait till that summer, and I got a tryout. We got a tryout match. It was part of the tag team, the Hell Riders, and we did our tryout match at the Variety Club camp. And it was me and my old partner Pat against Stevie Richards and I think it was the Delaware Dynamo, somebody under a mask. And we did our match, and Todd said, "You're hired. Let's do it." And that was it.
Wow, that's great. Why does everybody get the impression that Paul Heyman started the ECW? Every time it's Paul Heyman's ECW because it's really not.
Originally it's not, but because and I was there under Eddie Gilbert, and I was let go under Eddie Gilbert, and I was brought back under Paulie because Paulie was the one that took it from the shambles and really made it what it was. And I'm telling you, when I was there for that year and a half under Paul as a Dudley, the things I witnessed and saw happen in that ring and with that ECW arena was it was literally like wrestling heaven because the matches, the angles, the storylines, everything, including that crowd and building. I would sit there. They had like a little 13-inch monitor, black and white fucking monitor, set up on a table, and we would all be gathered around watching what was going on. And I would sit there, and I would purposely sit there behind or next to people like Mick Foley and Steve Austin and Nancy Woman and everybody, and I just so I could hear their conversations of
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
going
yeah.
on because everybody was in talks with Vince, so they were all kind of trying to figure out: do I sign? Do I not sign? But everybody, again, it became like a family and was cheering on what was going on in the ring, and I would just say to myself, I am part of history right now. This
Yes,
is
you
just
were.
this is magic. This
Yep.
is like ungodly. And 30 years later, that's why people still want to talk to me. And it kind of is mind blowing that the whole Chubby Dudley thing is more popular 30 years later than it was then.
hmm Well, it's funny you should say that because, like, even with the podcast, like,
Hmm.
there's so many people who remember Joel and myself, like,
Hmm.
from a million years ago, and Paul, but right now, Paul's Paul. Paul's not going to be involved in wrestling anymore. He's ill, and we'll leave it at that. But he like to this day, like people still tell me on Facebook or in person. I remember listening to that show. We loved that show so much. It was wonderful. We loved how you and Joel fought all the time, and And like anytime I wasn't there, Joel would take over. If he wasn't there, I would take over. But either one of us would say, "Good, I'm glad the other was not here." Because Joel would take over for Jewish holidays, and I'd be like, "Well, I have the show. I'm glad he's not here, and this holiday is going to do nothing for you." But I loved it. It was great, and the people were so kind. They were so kind, and I even had a little fan club with WrestleMania. Remember, Jeannie? Little kids had Carmela Mania T-shirts.
Yeah.
If you kids are all out there now, you're probably grown, married with children. Can you do that again, please? Go get those shirts, and we'll do Carmela Mania again. But it was an honor. It was great. It was wonderful. And then, again, I go back a lot farther than you do. But, there's something about being in wrestling, whether you're a fan, whether you're a promoter, whether you're a wrestler, it doesn't matter. There's something about being in wrestling that, like DC Drake said, it's in your blood, and it doesn't ever go away. It really doesn't ever go away.
Look, I subdued it for 20 years, and because of that asshole Goodhart who brought it back out now, and it's funny because we're on the phone every day, and we're laughing, we're joking, we're cursing each other out as we're going through this. But and I say to him multiple times, I said, "What are we going to do after this is all over?" Because I'm like, we're going to have the time of our life doing this, and it's going to drive us crazy. But we're going to have the time of our life for the next 7 months. But May 4th.
May 3rd.
Well, no.
May 4th is
the day after.
Next day. Gotcha. Okay.
What happens?
I'll tell you what's going to happen, if I may. Okay?
Tell me.
Because Jeannie and I aren't going anywhere. Okay? We're still going to be doing podcasts after May 3rd. However, this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and you and Joel, of course, are welcome to join right in. We're going to try to rebuild another Squared Circle fan club with all the trips and all the lunches and all that. And maybe, who knows, maybe we can start doing wrestling trips again. And I would love very much for you guys to be a part of that. Just because this particular match is going to end on the 3rd doesn't mean that your wrestling involvement, and I tell Joel this all the time, or your wrestling life has to stop. I mean, again, I'm 67. I just started a podcast. Like, who does that, But I've been getting good feedback. We've been getting good feedback. People seem to like our podcast because we don't do the norm.
Yeah.
Our podcast is based mostly strictly on old school stories. Stories are incredible. People love stories. Okay. And I think that's what's helping us a lot.
What do you want to happen on May 4th?
That's a good question. That's a damn good fucking question, Jeannie. Well,
now you got to come up with an answer.
You know what I want?
Because I know you do different WrestleCons and you have podcasts as well. Would you? And you're down in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
So
you know what I want?
Wrestling is huge down there.
You know what it is, and I have an offer to work for a federation as a manager. I'm doing signings. I have a signing tomorrow I'm doing, which is fun. But first off, like going and doing shows, I even, like a few years ago, I was offered to work behind the scenes with a federation to help with booking, promotions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember I sat with the promoter and I had the meeting with his booker and a couple of his other people. And I ended up sitting there within the first 20 minutes. He was like, "You got the job. You're hired." And I sat there for 3 hours, which was probably wrong because as I was sitting there with them, I was like, yeah, this is probably not the best thing because I know what happens in the business. I don't want to be involved with that. I don't want to get back into that situation and road. And I walked out of the office and I drove home and I texted him before I got back in the house. I said, "You know what? Thank you, but I don't think it's right for me." just because I didn't want to go back down that road situation. And also too, it's like this other federation that's asked me to become a manager, and I see like video clips and I see the posters and all, and it's tough for me to look at it and not see any of my Philly people there.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world now, and my heart for the wrestling, it's all there in Philly, and what I want to see May 4th and beyond that is, when you lose, usually it's when you lose a friend and people
Absolutely.
gather and you're at the services, and the big thing everybody says is, let's not lose contact, let's remain in touch, don't be a stranger, this and that. And what happens? You fucking leave and you become a stranger again, as usual.
Yeah, because
Well,
everybody expects the other person to keep in touch.
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
May 4th on, I don't want to be a fucking stranger to all you people. I don't want to be a
No.
stranger to that locker room. Those 20 something, that group, that people that are going to get together in a couple weeks for this meeting. I don't want to lose touch with these people.
No.
I love all these people. You guys are all an important part of my life, and you have been. We just been kind of dormant for a couple decades, but
Well, but
and
it is like a family. It really is.
it is.
It's like a
It
family.
is.
Plus,
Totally.
everybody lives all over the United States. It's
Yeah.
well, mostly East Coast, but still, it's up and down, and
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to get together when you're thousands of miles apart from each other.
It is, but that this is where the whole importance of May 3rd is, because putting this all together, and it took a few weeks for Joel to really sell me on the idea, but like I kept saying to him after I agreed, I said, this whole day and night, it's really not overall going to be about this blowout show and everything. This is basically a reunion. This is a reunion of the Squared Circle fan club. This is a night of nostalgia. This is going to be a night of fun and remembrance of all the great times, amazing times that everybody had with Joel and Carmela, Squared Circle trips, the fan club, the radio show, the TWA shows, and just the fun in the wrestling business that everybody's had the last 30 plus years. That's what May 3rd is all about.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to stop. It seriously doesn't. I know Joel said one and done, but who knows if this turns out to be a big blowout?
But let me tell you something. This is where and he hasn't. I'm gonna throw you under the fucking bus, motherfucker, because I know you're chomping at the bit to watch this. When he first approached me for this, it was not one and done. He wanted to restart fully. That's why I was not on board at all. At all. Once he said one and done and we're going to do a show a year out, then I was intrigued. And that's where I started like, all right. But my original idea for one and done, and I said to him, I said, look, Joel, we don't have a locker room. The locker room of guys we did have, we're all fucked up. We're 30 years older. Who's walking with a cane? Who's had too many concussions? Who's had heart attacks, open heart surgery? Who's had this. Everybody's got their health issues. Nobody should be getting in a ring. And I said, a big thing that Squared Circle Fan Club did was these luncheons and stuff like that. I said, why don't we do a convention? I said, we'll do like a dinner and we'll do a roast. I said, let's fucking roast you. I said, I think that would be great. Just won't have to worry about a ring, getting anybody hurt or anything, or trying to. And he was like, no. It should be a show. I'm like, all right, we're going to do a show. But that was my original thing I thought we should do.
Well, that was kind of when you were saying, you didn't really know. And I was thinking, well, make it a yearly reunion where it may not be a show. Like this is like a one and done show, but you could still have yearly reunions.
I love that idea.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that idea.
And have the fans involved. I got to tell you real quick, Davey O'Hannon called me not too long ago. We were talking, and he also, same thing. It's in your blood. You know, you don't want to get rid of it. He also was trying, because he's friends with Manuel Soto, Johnny Rods, you know, a lot of the older
Wow.
people,
Mm-hmm.
Pete Sanchez, who passed away. But, you know, he wanted to do the same thing. He said, how about, he goes, what do you think if we do a breakfast with the boys or brunch with the boys and have me
If
and
we're
Rods
eating, I'm involved.
and he wanted to do that and see how many people would come. And I said, well, since Rods has a huge following still in New York,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think we should pick a place, North Jersey or New York, you know.
Yeah.
And he, depending on price of tickets, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe try to bring in maybe one younger person, you know, just to see. So we're kind of talking about that now. You know, I think
Nice.
personally, like I said, we're going to keep the podcast going as long as I'm alive, and then Jeannie can do whatever she wants with it. But I think that this could be an ongoing thing. It doesn't have to end.
Exactly.
You know, with the podcast, you're going to still have yours. I'm going to still have mine.
Mm-hmm.
We can get luncheons together. People have asked me already, you know, why don't we do what we did before? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And I am completely and totally open to suggestions. And I don't think it
I
has
love
to
it.
end, Bay. I really
No, it
don't.
doesn't. It really
No.
doesn't.
Mm-mm. And we are great minds together. You know, me, you, Jeannie, Joel. What the heck? We could come up with something. Okay.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to ask you now, we're getting off the subject for a second here. Tell us, I believe we have a big announcement for May 3rd.
You know what's funny? I literally was just saying to myself, oh shit, we have to make the announcement. I
Yeah,
totally
she
forgot
didn't
about
ask
it.
yet. Yeah, I didn't.
Totally
She didn't
forgot
ask yet.
about it.
Okay,
That's
so
funny.
let's do the big announcement, the big one.
All right, so we're going to announce, we've already announced, you know, the TWA roster of the past that's going to be there, the 20 plus guys. We're going to make the first official announcement, and everybody, you should know. This again, this whole thing is about being true to tradition. You know, we're going to have T-shirts made. We're using the same company, JPTs, that Joel used back in the day, that Todd used to do, and Paul used to do the ECW shirts, that they did the Ring of Honor shirts. So new shirts will be made by JPTs, keeping with tradition. We have another tradition we're going to announce once the contract is signed next week, but it's a done deal. And keeping a tradition of WrestleCon. So make sure you tune in here every week because Rasslin Radio Relived is going to make the announcements probably every week for the next 7 months as we breadcrumb and string everybody along. So you're going to have to come here to hear everything first.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
first official guest of WrestleCon is a person who made their true debut in Philadelphia with the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance.
Wow.
I still picture I was sitting in the crowd at the Philadelphia Civic Center, and I saw this person run down the ring with a long hair, small guy, did this crazy flip in the ring, and I said, who the fuck is this? Because he was not a true member of the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, but he made his Philadelphia debut for the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. You might know his great uncle who wrestled for many decades. He was known as the original Sheik, but this guy went on to major, major things in this business. He was a huge part of Extreme Championship Wrestling. He helped put that fucking arena on the map. The most suicidal, genocidal, and homicidal wrestler to ever step foot in that fucking four squared circle, Sabu, will be at WrestleCon.
Wow.
I hope everybody heard that. Sabu.
There you go.
Wow. I got chills.
Yep. The big
Wow.
up in the skies thing. Yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I have a funny Sabu story because when when we were both in ECW at the time, Dennis Carluzzo was always, he's like, because I was very close with Dennis. So he was like, I used to literally sit in diners with Dennis 3-4 nights a week. And then on the weekend, I'd be at ECW and he'd be doing his shows. But he was always, through the week, in a diner drinking all his iced teas. Hey man, why don't you just come wrestle for me? Fuck that Paulie guy. Just come wrestle for me, man.
Oh my God, it's such a good imitation.
The one time I'm like, all right, because he offered me a lot of money to do it. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. And instead of going to an ECW arena show, I went to work for Dennis. And I walked in to the fucking locker room, and who's sitting there? Sabu. I'm like,
Oh wow.
what the fuck are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? And we just started laughing. But that was the night he wrestled Devon Storm. I want to say it was in Woodbury, New Jersey. And they blew the fucking roof off that place. And that is the match that put Devon Storm on the map, which then in a few weeks ended up he was in ECW, which later on he went on to WCW and became Crowbar. But Sabu is such a fun dude, great dude, and really, he changed this business and vitally important part of the whole ECW extreme movement. If it wasn't for Sabu, he really helped put that whole thing over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He is what hardcore is.
Yeah.
But
it's again, it's just crazy because he really, and people don't know their fucking history, he truly made his Philadelphia debut for Joel Goodhart, the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, because he drove his uncle to come work Abby for Joel, and he got put into one of the battle royals that Joel did.
Wow.
My parents used to know his uncle, the original Sheik. Wow. As years went by, but he was in reality a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He did that crazy stuff in the ring too, but he was in reality a really nice guy. Now I have a question: is there any possibility yet that there may be a match looming in the air where it's pretty much carved in stone, or no?
Oh, there's quite a few matches carved in stone. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
but we're not announcing any of the matches as of yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
I think we're going to. We did this announcement. I think we're going to maybe. Here's the thing. Okay. I have a concept for the show, and hey Joel, you're an asshole. I'm going to throw you under the bus again.
I call him that every day, every single day.
I have my freedom right now where I don't have to fucking talk with the leash around my neck because of him. I have a concept for the show, okay? And he was on board originally, but now he's fighting me on it.
What is
okay?
it?
I can't give the.
Oh, come on, Ben.
I'll tell you off air. I don't want to expose it to the fans yet.
Yeah, but you know what? They're going to be saying the same thing. They're going to be saying, "Come on, Bay. Can't you give us a little bit?"
Let's put it this way. I've told it to a few friends of mine who kind of are in the business and some are in the business, and everybody has loved the idea. Okay?
Why is Joel against it?
Because he's so anal and needs to know the exact match right now.
Oh,
and
no.
with my concept, we truly won't know the matches till at some point in early 2025.
I was going to say not till January. Well, he told me himself that there's a few people that he's not 100% sure of until 2025. Right. Yeah,
right, exactly.
So keep the concept open. I'll talk to him. I mean, we call each other names from the get-go. We don't even say hello. We say F you when we answer the phone. Yep. We say F you when we say goodbye. Jeannie,
no, you say it. You always make him say "I love you" before you hang up.
No, I love you, then F you. All right, then F you after I love you. But Jeannie, he talks to real nice all the time. I never hear him say anything bad to her. It's all me. All me.
No, me. I got yelled at.
Yeah, but he doesn't call you the names he calls me, Jeannie.
Oh, where'd she go?
Oh, she's always getting disconnected.
Look, Joe disconnected her.
No, she'll be back. But yeah, there she goes. She's back already. What'd you do?
I didn't do anything. I didn't touch anything.
It was Joel.
He GB on me because I was saying that he did yell at me on the phone.
But he doesn't call you names like he does me. He never called you a name.
No, he just says, don't be stupid, and and why are you making my life complicated, and you're giving me a headache, and that's
Well,
what I
to
get.
me, he says don't. Not, he doesn't say don't be stupid. He goes, why are you so stupid? Every time he listens to a podcast, Bay, every single time, before he tells me that it was good or bad or whatever, he's got to give me his critique of all the mistakes we made. Well, you said this and it wasn't right. Jeannie said this, and I don't know if she meant to say that or what. Maybe you should have said this instead. I said, Joel, do you want to do the podcast? But then
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I know.
Deep down he does, because he is. When I've said to him, "What are we going to do May 4th?" He said, "We're going to start a podcast." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Well, I'll tell you what. We're and of course he's welcome, and he knows that, to share the podcast with us. But we're all going to do a live podcast that day, right, May?
Yes.
That's going to be good. Now, I want to tell the fans right now. Again, we're going to repeat this a couple times. May 3rd of 2025 at the ECW Arena, the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. We're all going to be there. Bay, Jeannie, myself, Joel. We're all going to be there with the wrestling, with the con, and we're going to have our podcasts, not only Bay and us, but other people, going to have the podcast live during the con. Possibly, after the con for a little bit. You can come up and talk. You can come up and sit down with us, be interviewed, whatever. During the matches, of course, we're not going to. But it's going to be an exciting day, because you don't even know who's going to be at this con yet. Okay, we only got one name. And God willing, we're going to announce something every week. So get used to seeing Bay's face. Everybody's used to seeing Joel's face. So, but we're going to have some kind of an announcement, I believe, just about every week. And this podcast is...
That's my plan. I want to be able to make an announcement every week. And you guys, because we're all in the group text chat, a couple people have leaked things and they shouldn't have. And I was fucking texting Joel the other morning like a lunatic. I was like fucking going nuts.
Yeah, well, it's hard to keep. They say that women can't keep their mouth shut, but I think men are just as bad. I don't think men can keep their mouth shut either.
Well, wrestlers
especially.
Look,
because
it's killing me for months not to be able to tell. Like, I've been wanting to tell people about the show, the convention, we started working on this back in May, and
I know
it's taken a long time to put things in place and start making stuff happen. And it's been killing me, because I love to talk and gossip and have fun. Yeah. And the fact that I couldn't do it was driving me nuts. So now that we have to and like Joel's like, we're not sold out yet. I'm like, Joel, we haven't announced a fucking match or anybody yet. You would have like, it's 7 months away.
Yeah. Well, and it's been hard for Jeannie and myself, because every week we're just like, well, keep the day. We could only announce the day. Then we could announce that there was a building. Keep the day, keep the building, do the banner, and that's what we did for God. How many weeks, Jeannie? Like, it's ridiculous. But now that everybody's been listening and watching and tickets are being sold, okay, we are going to have something to say. Even when we're going to have other guests, of course, too. We're going to have our regular Rasslin Radio Relived podcast. But in the interim of what we're doing with other guests, Joel or Bay will pop in, and do an announcement or, whatever. And then we'll go back to what we were doing. Yeah. But I think it's important for everybody to stay tuned, be in touch every week, because if you're going to miss it, and then you're going to lose your seats and everything else, because the first couple seats are already selling pretty good. Jeannie and I and Kathy or Christine and her son and wait a minute, don't tell me. Oh, and Sandra. Right, we bought 5 tickets already. Okay, so we're going to be in the 3rd row on the northwest side, in case you're interested. But it's really going to move. It's going to move, and I think once you guys start hearing who's going to be there, I think that'll help a lot. But just trust and believe. You guys had faith in Rasslin Radio years ago. You had faith in Joel and Carmela years ago. Have that same faith. we're not going to let you down. Okay, it's going to be a good show, and it's going to be a good day. Like we're going to be together all day,
All day, yeah.
all day. Everybody, we're going
It's
to have
gonna
fun
be
all day. And what?
it's going to be so good. I
Yeah.
mean, from the time that convention opens, even before that, the setup of the convention throughout the day, the show, and then you know, we're going to have an after party somewhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
And hey,
so
let me ask you this though. Also, there's a you can rent hotels too for the night. But let me ask you
we
this.
have a hotel we are partnered with. I got it situated today. We will have the contract signed probably Monday or Tuesday.
So that'll be another announcement, okay?
Yes.
But Faye, let me ask you this because a couple people have already been asking. Um, is it possible at all? I mean, you might want to talk to Joel about this. That people can buy con tickets when they get there.
If tickets are still available for either, at that point, yes, absolutely.
Oh, good. All right, everybody, hear that? If tickets are still available for that show and for the con, you can still buy them that day. So that's going to be awesome. And
Mhm.
also, it's not going to be like a regular con, and I know this for a fact. You're not going to be charged through the teeth. It's not going to be a $200 for a picture. It's not going to be
Yeah.
$75 for an autograph. I don't know exactly what the prices are right now, but I can guarantee you they will be a lot more reasonable than WWE, AEW, whoever else has been doing them.
I don't, and I say this a lot, like with these WWE stars,
Right.
when they do their signings and all. I mean, they're like $300-400 and I get it. I mean, WWE right now I feel is the top entertainment company in the business, and their A team of stars is it. They are the top celebrities in the business, I feel right now. But I mean, like tomorrow, I charge for my signings. You get a picture with me. I have an autograph. I sign an autograph trading card for you and a autograph picture for $20 for the three.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're
And
not
see, that's
spending.
the way it
You're not going
should
to break
be.
the bank.
Yeah, these people can't afford this crap. And like I said, I've said it again, I've said it a million times, and I'm going to keep saying it. The WWE should think about that. Some people that go there and to their events and everything, they got to understand these people have saved all year, maybe 2 years, and this is their life savings. Sometimes people don't pay bills to save money for a
Yeah.
wrestling event. Give them a break. Make the damn prices a little bit less. Or like I said, at least one wrestler do everything for free. People will freak out, and that will draw a bigger crowd. But
Well,
they don't get it.
worst part is the people are paying. That's the whole thing. The
Yeah.
people are
Well,
paying.
People are paying it.
Yeah.
well, that's the problem, though. People are paying it, so their response probably would be, "Shut up! People are paying. We don't want to hear
Yeah.
you." You know,
Yeah.
and that's true. But I know what it's like for me. Like I remember, oh God, I don't know how many years ago it was. My friend Elaine and I took Daniela to go see Seth Rollins.
Okay.
That's my
Oh, I
youngest
remember
daughter.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how you'll do anything for your kids? You know that, right?
Sure.
Okay. So we went and I bought her a ticket. The ticket to see him was $200. And honest to God, yeah, we paid it. I can't tell you how hard it was to put that $100 away and $200 rather away. And when we got there, it was like I had said before. Seth was behind the table. The table was in front of him, and then
Mhm.
whoever came up was on the other side of the table.
Okay.
And if you wanted a picture with them, you sat in a chair on this side of the table, and then there
Oh.
was a table, and Seth was on the other side for $200. You couldn't even touch him. Okay, you
Oh.
had to sit on the other side. Now Roman Reigns was on the other side of the building. He
Mhm.
was standing up and standing and hugging all his fans and stuff. So of course I made a big deal. I'm like, I wanted to see Roman. I should have went over there. But I'm telling you, it was. I was very disappointed. She was in heaven that day. I mean, now she
Sure.
doesn't feel the same. She was young, but she was in heaven that day. So you know what? The look in her eyes made it worth it. That's it. But I'll never do it again. I will never do it again. That's like when Jeannie and I went to the 2300 Arena, had a con, right? Well, how long ago was that, Jeannie? About 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I went to see Ivan Putski, and
Okay.
we walked up, and long story short, I've known Ivan Putski since I was 17. And he like freaked out as soon as he saw us, and he had a handler, I guess you would call it, somebody who stays there with him. And he's like, "Do you want a picture?" And I looked at the guy, and said, "I'm not paying to have a picture with this guy that I dated for 7 years. No, not doing it." And Ivan came up, and Ivan's like, No. He said, "You never paid for anything with me, and you're not doing it today." So Jeannie, God bless her, took pictures for us,
Nice.
which I still have.
And video.
Yes, and video.
Oh,
I have a video. And it's funny because he's 84 now, or he's going to be 84, I believe.
Is he really?
Yeah, and it's funny because years ago, he was so big, and he was a little bit taller, and I have a picture of him and I hugging, okay? And I was half his size. This picture, okay, he is so tiny. He's about 3'1". He's about 75 pounds, and he's bald. Okay, so now it looks like he's half my size now. But I loved every second of it, and I don't care how old he is. I will love that man until after we're both dead. Period.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of the different cons in Philly at the 2300 Arena, and it's funny because I will go to tables of people who I like and or I know, and I don't go to I'll never forget the one year Nia Jax was there, and it was like $200, $150. I'm like, screw you! Like, no. First of all, I don't like you.
That helps.
I think you're horrible. But she didn't have a big line, but she had a line. But yeah, I will not pay for anything like that. But I do like to support the indie guys that are there. And I only go to indie shows. I will not go to any of the others.
I still watch it on TV, but I won't go. I will not go to another big card. I'm not spending that kind of money. Yeah, years ago I didn't have to spend any money. I went in with a wrestler, or I went in by myself, whatever. Not now. They don't know me from Adam anymore.
See, that's the thing too, and it's kind of hard because, I mean, first off, back and then, once we got into the business, we were taught you don't go to the shows no more. So
no.
That, and then even when as I'm in the business, then I would get get passes and stuff like that. So it was like, now it's like, Coco's like, "Oh, I want to go see WWE." They were just here last Friday night for SmackDown, and I'm like, kind of hard for me to justify now to
exactly.
be that
I get it
and do the other thing.
Yep,
I'll never forget, Carmela, you were there. Oh boy, it was, I think, 2014, and we went to a show in Travis, Pennsylvania. It was Doc Diamond's show, and like Tom Brady was there, and Joel was there, Snuka was there, and like tons of people. And I was trying to get Larry to go, and he's like, I don't go to wrestling. Like, I don't pay to go to wrestling. I'm like, you're Larry Winters. They're not going to make you pay to get in. Okay. And, and if they do, I'll pay your ticket. Okay. So you don't have to, because he only had $100. So it wasn't he was going to, but they did. They let him in. They, certainly didn't charge him or anything, and he had the best time. But yeah, he was like, no. I mean, he was having major anxiety about, I do not pay to get into wrestling. Like, I mean, he was really freaking out. And I was
he was the one that told me that.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
And I won't go either. I mean, when I went to a match with Jeannie not too long ago, we went to see Tom Brady, And I mean, everything's new now. You go in, you give them money, which I paid because it was an indie show.
Right.
And they give you a bracelet, and I'm just standing there like a dope going, what is this for? I don't want a 50-50. I don't know, But there was a time when, the WWE like always put their foot down about stuff. And when we still had the old Spectrum, they didn't want the women in the back anymore because women were looked down upon all the time, even if you were with a wrestler. And I will never forget this day like it was yesterday. I was going in with Ivan in the back, and we were both going in, and the one of the referees or one of the guards, whoever was, stopped us at the door, and they said, she's not allowed in. You can come in, but she can't. She has to buy a ticket and sit with the other women. And Ivan looked at this guy. He cracked me up. He looked at this guy and he looked at me and he said, I was waiting for him to say, see you later. But see, that's my point. Okay. This is why you get treated the way you allow people to treat you. Okay. This is talking about being a rat and not being a rat. So we're standing there. He looked at me and I thought to myself, if he tells me to leave, I am going to kick him so hard, he's not going to be able to wrestle. He turned to me and he goes, did you hear what this guy said? I said, yeah, I did. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, I don't want you to do anything. He looked at the guy and he goes, let me tell you something. I'm your main event. She doesn't come in with me. I'm going home. You're not going to have a main event. And you have a full house. So the guy turned 18 shades of red. Okay. And then I was like, come on, I'll go inside. I'll get a ticket. No. He's like, no, you won't. You're coming in with me. And I did. And I was the only wife/girlfriend, whatever, in the back. And I did. He would not go in without me.
They must be some amazing fucking chicken cutlets.
Oh, my God. What the hell made you talk about chicken cutlets right now? What, Ivan Putski leads the chicken cutlets? Is that how that works?
Well, Carmela, come on. You're famous for your chicken cutlets. All roads lead back to your chicken cutlets.
There you go. There you go.
Chicken
cutlets. I got to tell a Larry story real quick, too.
Okay, go ahead.
When when I got let go from ECW during the Eddie Gilbert era, I started promoting shows under Liberty All-Star Wrestling. And my whole thing was to promote and pick up where Joel left off. And I actually tracked Joel down, and I used to call him at his office and talk to him. This was like in 94, 95, and get, tips and advice from him. But in like 2001, when I was really starting to really run, I was running like 2-3 times a month. I did not have Larry or Tony, booked on my shows. And the reason why is because some shows I didn't have money to pay the talent. So it was do you want a t-shirt? You want a video? You want a hot dog? You want all three? Like whatever I could do to keep the locker room happy. So I was like, I didn't want to disrespect the two guys who were two of my main teachers in the business and say, I can only pay you X amount and disrespect them. They came to me and they were like, yo, like, what's up? We want to work. Why are you not booking us? And I explained the situation to both of them, and they were like, I don't give a fuck. And this is coming from Larry, too, especially. Tony, I would more expect it. But from Larry, it shocked the hell out of me. He's like, I don't care if you can't pay me. I want to work. I want to wrestle. And I started booking him on shows, and I put him and Tony in a feud. And Larry, that motherfucker, we all know Larry. I didn't see Larry. I knew Larry at that point 11 years. I think I saw him take in 11 years 3 bumps. He took like 15 bumps. The first night I booked him, I said, who the fuck are you? I said, now I feel like I have to pay you. You worked more tonight than you have in the last 11 years that I've known you. And he did. He brought his A game, and I saw him in those months that he worked for me before I went out of business, bust his fucking ass for me. And I was never so honored in my life because here was a guy who taught me. He was my true original fucking trainer, and he did the exact opposite of what he was known to do. Work his balls off for basically no money. So,
And it's funny that you should say that because Jerry, Larry was a wonderful, wonderful man.
absolutely.
And we joked about him being cheap all the time. That's the story about the $100 bill, because he always, everywhere we went, every time we had to chip in, he'd pull out this 100 and he'd be like, like on Seinfeld, like Kramer's only got 100, Jerry's only got 100. I only have 100, and he'd have this $100 bill. But you know what? He was a kind man. He really wasn't all that stuff. He was genuinely kind, a great, wonderful father, and he was really a good man. As a matter of fact, bear with me a second. I'm gonna change scenes here real quick. Jeannie, talk to him for a second while I look for this.
Well, I remember talking with Larry several times, and he was working with Mike Bruno, Tartaglia. And I remember him saying that he goes, these young guys, I don't understand. They're like, who trained them? Who taught them? He said, because he remember being in a locker room, I think it was for the AWA, and Ric Flair was there, and he knew who he was, obviously. And that when Rick walked into the locker room, he went out and introduced himself to every guy in that locker room. Like he needed to do that. You know what I mean? But that was the respect and the honor and the, of that way. And he's like, these guys don't do that. Like none of these guys he goes, do you notice? He goes, a lot of them don't even like wipe their boots on the ring.
Yeah.
Before they get in. And I always noticed that was done, but I wasn't really paying attention at the indie shows. So I'm like, oh my God, he's right. And he's like, no, don't like him. He doesn't.
The first lesson Larry taught, my first night of wrestling school, was, did you know there was a handshake?
I didn't.
There was a handshake amongst the boys to know if you were in the business. So it was just a very light handshake, and it, like, if you came up to somebody and you shook their hand like a man, like real hard, that made the person be like, oh fuck, okay, either they're not in the business, or if we're working stiff. So if you have this real like light, gentle handshake, it like was a signal like, all right, I'm in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he taught us, the first thing he said was, here's the handshake. When you walk in a locker room, you go around to everybody in that locker room and you make sure you introduce yourself and you shake their hand the proper way. Yeah. This way they know.
And that's the way it should be. And I don't think
it's
like
not
that today.
No more. I just had this conversation with one of the talent on the show that we will announce later in the coming weeks. Because I had heard this, as I'm back in the mix of things, I had heard like that's not a thing no more. That this new era, this new generation, when they walk in a locker room, they don't go around, they don't introduce themselves, they don't shake hands, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm. So I said to this person, I said, is this the truth? He said, it's the absolute truth. And he said, from my age up, you're going to get that. My age under, you're not going to get it. And he's responsible for a couple guys that he has with him. He said, I teach them and I tell them. And Jeannie, you probably know who this person is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he said, and I have taught them that, this is what you have to do. But yeah, it's a whole new world.
Well, the thing with the ring too is the ring. Most rings are filthy dirty on the inside. Forget it. People jump on them, fall on them, spit on them, pee on them, whatever. Mm-hmm. But the act of wiping your feet, and you should wipe your feet every single time you go into a ring, because that to a wrestler, that inside of that ring is sacred ground. In other words, it's when you wipe your feet before you go in the ring, it's respect to the ring. You're wiping off whatever dirt or scum or whatever you have on your feet, even though there's nothing there or whatever, and then you get in. That is a sign of respect to the ring. So a lot
Right.
of people that don't do that don't have respect for the ring or to the wrestling at all. But I want you to look real quick at this. This picture was taken in 1984. This is Larry at my house, holding my little baby. He was a little
Baby.
baby himself.
I love that.
How old was he, Jeannie, when he passed?
58.
Wow.
And how long ago is it that he passed?
It'll be 10 years in January.
It's been 10 years.
Wow. So he's 58. He was 10 years in January. So that was...
No, this upcoming January.
Oh, upcoming January. So it was 9 years, and he was 58. So back then, that was... has to be like maybe it was the 20s back then. Maybe even young 20s.
I don't think young. Well, maybe mid 20s.
I would say mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Because he was okay. We'll figure it out. But yeah, that's a priceless picture, and that was at my house. You know, again, with a lot of the wrestlers were at my house for multiple reasons, and he was there all the time. It got to a point where I didn't even lock the door anymore. People just knocked on the door and walked in, you know. And he was there constantly.
And his little sister Annie used to babysit.
Yeah, his little sister Annie babysat for my Celeste a few times, actually.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I wanted to talk to you about this. We're going to do a tribute show to Larry, probably sometime before the show. I'm not going to wait till after the show. And we're going to try and get one of his sons to come. And I was going to see if we can get his sister Annie to be part of it as well. We're picking certain people, you know, certain wrestlers to come on and who were, you know, close to him. But I think it's going to be a good show. And with this particular podcast, including Jeannie and myself, we can get 10 people. So we can get 8 more guests on the screen. So we can do that. When we did the tribute to Dominic DeNucci, it was a really, really good show. And it all worked out really well. It really did. It worked out tremendously. And I was real happy with it. But so let's backtrack a little bit. And let's just tell the fans what's going on. One more time, we're going to tell you it's May 3rd at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. And it is called One and Done. It is a show being put on by our guest here, Mr. BAY RAGNI and Joel Goodhart. And it
from
is
12 to 3 is going to be a Rassle Con where you get to meet and greet all of the TWA guys and special guests and things like that.
There's a lot of special guests that we have to announce. We announced earlier in the show the first one is Sabu. And then,
I'm so excited because I know everybody is going to be there, and I'm beside myself. I'm so excited. I know, it's crazy.
And that night at 7:30 belt time, we were going to do One and Done, and we are going to hopefully as well. We still have this banner petition.
Yes. How many
names?
Signatures do we have?
586 as of earlier this evening.
Okay, come on, guys. We only need, 408? No, 18, right? No, 408. 408.
414.
414. Oh, I can't add. 414. I'm sorry. What the hell? 414. We're going to, Bay, when we're done with the show, because I'm going to drop it tonight because Joel wants it. All right. So we're going to drop it tonight, but we're not going to advertise it.
You're going to give him what he wants.
I always do. I always give in, and he knows it. Jeannie, we're not going to advertise it till tomorrow, though. Okay, we're just going to drop it tonight so Joel can see it, and then tomorrow we can put it on Facebook. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we're going to do tonight. But anyway, can you, when we post the show tomorrow, could you resend us or repost and tag us in the petition link? Because I know for a while.
Here's the problem. Facebook feels like this petition site, we're using it to get people's information. So they flag you from sharing it, even sending it in instant messenger. So I have to I tried being sneaky. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do a video and post it in the comments. I can't even post a video with it in the comments now. So I got to take old links of me sharing it and post it. This way, it's not actually like catching that it's the link being shared.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will do that and tag
Yeah,
you guys.
because and I want you to do it if you can, if you don't mind, every week.
Hmm.
Because we got to keep trying. We got to get these signatures. And
Yeah.
like I said, if you guys have signed it, just get a friend, anybody, to sign it.
Your
I'd like
child. Get your,
yeah, your puppy, anybody,
yeah, anybody who's got
put
a
a
Facebook
fingerprint on it,
account, go ahead
paw
and
print. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's something good that we're doing, and I think that's going to be a beautiful ceremony. You're not going to want to miss this show. Nobody is.
No.
It's a beautiful ceremony. It's going to be fantastic. There's going to be a ton of people there, and I'm telling you right now, the tears will probably
I was
flood
just
the
going to say
arena.
that.
Probably
Come watch
flood the
me cry
arena.
in the ring.
Yep. So we're boots. Okay, we're going to need boots.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be, it's going to be incredible. Well, Bay, we're going to have to say goodbye now. We had a wonderful, wonderful show.
Yes, thank you for
Oh
the
hell! I thought we were
announcement.
just getting started. What the fuck?
Well, it's funny. We did Wednesday night and tonight is an hour and a half, and we never do that. Joel keeps saying, you got to do a longer show. You got to do a longer show.
You know what? Here's the funny thing is, I had a few of my interviews go 3+ hours. I had the one with Stevie Wonderful went 5.5 hours.
Oh,
And
my God.
we were live and we were drinking the whole time. I mean, we were shit faced by the time of the 5.5 hours.
Oh,
We were
wow.
shit faced. We're crying. We're talking. I mean, it was the first time I talked to him in 30 years. So,
Wow.
but people keep messaging me. They want longer. When I do an interview now and it's under an hour or under 2 hours, they start hollering at me. I'm like, yo, like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, but you know what? This is what we need. We need feedback from you guys. Do you like it longer? Do you want to keep it an hour? I mean, it's up to you guys. The fans are the boss. So, whatever you guys want, you can email Jeannie and myself at 316 Carmela with 1L at gmail.com. So let us know
Now,
what you
Bay,
think.
give everybody, which I'm sure they all have it, but give where they can find you on social media, like all your podcasts and
On social media, best place is Chubby Dudley Official on Facebook and YouTube, or just look up my name, Bay Ragni. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube. Yeah, I'm all over.
okay.
Okay.
And
Well, Bay,
I talk to everybody, and it's like, again, like I said earlier, my Chubby Dudley thing and my YouTube, my Facebook of Chubby Dudley has been like blowing up, and I'm on there every day interacting with everybody, having a ball, and making like I started now, like, it's a group. It's really becoming like a family, and they were like, "Oh, we need to name this. We need to name our new group." And it took me a little bit, but then I was like, "Oh, well, fuck it. I know what it is. We're the CWO. We're the Chubby World Order."
There
oh
you
my
go.
God.
So
That's a
come
good
on.
one.
I did
I
see
like
you
it.
did you posted on Facebook. I saw Ask Me Anything, I think it is. You
So
call it.
so
Yeah.
I started Ask Chubby, and like I'm still like from the last month. I had one thread, and I haven't caught up yet. Like I'm doing sometimes two, three, four, 5 questions a day, and I can't catch up. Like I'm hoping to finally get September's done so I can close it and restart a new box.
Man, I'll tell you, I wish we had that many questions and stuff that we need to answer, but we're getting there. I mean,
You're getting there. You just got
we're
you know
still
what it is?
young.
It's all, and this is what I'm learning with this whole world of YouTube and social media. It's this whole algorithm thing. The
Mhm.
more you do it, you feed the beast. The more you feed
Exactly.
the beast will be good to you.
Yep, exactly. And that's exactly what we plan on doing. But I want to tell you, please, not telling you, I'm going to ask you, please very kindly share this when we post it.
Absolutely.
Okay, when it drops.
I share like a motherfucker.
Good. You do that. You share just like that too. All right, Joel, we love you. I hope
Yes.
you're having fun tonight. Take care of yourself. He'll be on again, and you and Joel will both be on again, Bay. But we're going to have, like I said, I'm going to talk to you and Joel during the week, and every week we're going to have either one of you or both of you pop in, regardless of who's here,
Absolutely.
to do another announcement. Okay?
And it's so right now Nashville time it's 7:31, so it's 8:31 there for you guys. I expect by 10 p.m., maybe your time, but definitely by my time, I'll be getting cursed out.
Oh, and Joel will be saying, "Why did you say this? This
Yeah,
wasn't. You didn't need to say that during the pod. It had nothing to do with it. Why did you say that?" He does it all the time. He
you know,
does it because you know what? It's in his blood. He can't get it out. He can't stop.
absolutely.
But that's okay, Joel. We still love you. All right,
Absolutely.
Bay. Thank you so much. It
Thank
was an honor
Yes,
to have
thank
you.
you.
I love you guys. Thank you. I can't wait
Love
to see you
you
in 2
so
weeks.
much.
Mwah.
We'll see you
See
again
you
soon.
soon.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Love you. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
What a show. What a
I
show.
love
Really
him.
good. I do
I
too.
love
He's a
him so
great guy.
much.
Love him.
He really
It's going to be
is.
Sabu. Sabu, guys.
I know.
I'm so excited. It's going
Yes.
to be great. So everybody, please stay tuned. We're going to share it. We're going to post it tonight, but we're going to advertise tomorrow. It's going to drop tonight for Joel, but we're going to advertise it tomorrow. Bay's going to share it, and I want every one of you, please, to share it because you have no idea how much it helps us. So
Yeah.
again, please subscribe, like, share, and listen because anything you want to hear, anything you want to talk about, like I said, we're based on stories, and honey, we got plenty of them. So keep in touch. Jeannie, I love you to death.
Love
And
you more.
I will talk to you tomorrow.
Yes.
I love you, Ghost.
Love you.
Mwah. Love
Mwah.
you.
Bye,
Okay, see you
everybody.
tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.